What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL rankings video. In this video, I rank the top 32 wide receivers entering the 2021 NFL season from number 32 to number 1, giving you my list of the best receivers in football today. Before I bring my top 32 wide receivers to you, make sure that you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this, and get in that comment section and let me know what you think of my top 32. What do you think of my list? Do you think it's amazing? Do you think it sucks? And let me know your top 32 or your top receivers in football today. Kicking off with number 32, and at number 32, I have Cole Beasley of the Buffalo Bills. Cole Beasley, to me, was able to crack this list this year because of his toughness and his importance to the Buffalo Bills. He is in that Brian Daboll, New England Patriot-based offense where he's playing the role of the Wes Welker, the Danny Amendola, and yes, the Julian Edelman. This guy is shifty in his routes. He's shown a uptick in his productivity since leaving Dallas, and I think it's because he's been put in this position to succeed. He's such a crafty route runner. He has to be the best in the slot position in the league, just from a pure route running, getting open on option routes. His short area quickness is phenomenal. I absolutely love his grit, his toughness. He's got solid, reliable hands, and he consistently converts on third down and makes plays just every key moment that Josh Allen needs it. He's been his go-to guy, sometimes even more so than Stefon Diggs. And when Cole Beasley is going, the Bills are going. So Beasley is my 32nd best receiver in football. At number 31, a pretty similar type of player to Cole Beasley, Jarvis Landry of the Cleveland Browns. Now, I think Landry has taken a step back, especially when you look at his statistical performance from the last couple of seasons. But the Cleveland Browns are never really going to have super productive, big statistical wide receivers. That's just not the way their offense is run. And Jarvis Landry, the reason he's a top 32 receiver, he is a great, and I mean phenomenal, off-the-field leader of the Cleveland Browns. I think he's been just as crucial to anybody in this organization to turning the Browns around into a winning culture. He really is an important voice in that locker room. He brings that tough as nails approach. He brings that grind to the offense. He's tough. He'll block if you need him to block. He'll take a handoff if you need him to run the football. Of course, he'll take a screen or a short little option route. He's phenomenal in the slot. He's tough to take down in the open field. He's very good after the catch, and he's very reliable as a possession receiver. I don't think he's quite as athletic or quick or fast as maybe he was with the Dolphins, but I just think he's so consistent year after year. He always seems to be healthy. He always seems to be in the moment making plays, and I just really take him for his leadership more than anything else. He is just a phenomenal teammate and a great football player. At number 30, I have AB Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, to me, is personally one of the greatest receivers I have ever seen and one of the best players of all time at his position. Antonio Brown might be better this year. Think about it. He entered the Bucs lineup in like week 9, and then all of a sudden was just simply one of the most productive receivers for the rest of the season in the NFL, including scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He missed the NFC Championship game, but he was a big part of that resurgence of the Bucs and really their momentum at the end of the season as an offense. And I think any Bucs fan would tell you that he was their best receiver in that last half of the regular season, despite entering the offense off the street without playing football for an entire season, and really was a luxury third receiver. He was so good, especially with that Tom Brady chemistry where it really was never out of sync. Whether he was playing on the perimeter or in the inside, making plays after the catch, making the plays down the field, Antonio Brown still got it as one of the top 30 receivers in the league. Now, where Antonio Brown's lost it, that I'm not sure if he'll ever get it back, I think is that burst and that speed to make plays down the field. He can still go up and catch the football in a tough situation, but I just don't see that next level second gear speed that he used to have, or that second gear quickness in short areas. He's still really crafty and one of the best route runners there is, but he's just not quite as quick in and out of breaks where he was just unstoppable. So he might not be the best receiver in the league, but he's still really darn good. And honestly, with a full offseason actually in a team environment, he might be better physically this year and might be a better football player this year. At number 29, Deebo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers. Deebo Samuel is a prototype. How many times have we heard people, including myself, say he's a Deebo Samuel type? This guy plays like Deebo Samuel. We want a Deebo Samuel type player. He's only played in the league for like 2 years, but despite that, he's already a prototype of the modern NFL. That speaks to how good he is and how big of an impact he's had on the Niners and on the NFL in such a short period of time. Now, he's not the traditional perimeter receiver. He's more of a slot receiver, but he is such a weapon. He's so good as a runner. He's by far the best runner, like as a receiver in the league. If you give him a reverse or a little jet sweep or whatever it is, he's going to make yards, and he's physical. That's the thing I love about Deebo Samuel. He sets a tone as a wide receiver, which is very, 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 very rare. He sets a tone of an offense. You see an identity shift when he's in the lineup and when he's not in the lineup. There is a significant difference between Deebo Samuel Niners and no Deebo Samuel Niners. He's also pretty good, and I think underrated in this aspect because he's so good at the other things after the catch with the ball in his hands, that he is pretty good as a route runner. He's pretty good at gaining separation, and he is a good in the middle of the field receiver where he'll secure the football. He can take a big hit because he's a stocky guy that can absorb hits over the middle. He's just going to be, to me, one of the best receivers that probably never really gets the respect because he's a different type of player than really the traditional elite receiver. At number 28, I have Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. Courtland Sutton missed basically the entire season last year, only playing the first game and a bit of the first game, having 66 yards, I believe, in 2 or 3 quarters. So he was well on his way to establishing his second great year in a row. 2 years ago, Courtland Sutton came on the scene as one of the best jump ball receivers, down the field targets, and the Broncos did miss that. I think Jerry Jeudy missed that because it would make Jerry Jeudy that much more efficient underneath to open up that space. Courtland Sutton is a lot like a Kenny Golladay, Alshon Jeffrey type of receiver. They don't gain a ton of separation, but they're great possession players. They have very wide wingspans. They can catch virtually anything. And Courtland Sutton is a quarterback's best friend because of that. Because even when he's not open, he's open. So Courtland Sutton, I expect to have a bounce back year this year and have a very good one for the Broncos in 2021. At number 27 is Brandin Cooks of the Houston Texans. To me, arguably the most underrated receiver of his generation. Brandin Cooks, out of his first 7 seasons, has 5 1,000-yard seasons. Think about that for a second. And really, the only seasons he hasn't had 1,000 yards, he hasn't played all 16 games. So when he plays all the games, he's going to put up 8,000 yards. That's a really consistent player. Not only that, but he's played on 4 different teams and he's had 1,000 yards on every single one of those teams. Brandin Cooks is an awesome perimeter route runner. He is very good with comebacks, outs, deep perimeter stuff. Excellent. Always can make a play in that regard. He threatens a defensive back because of his speed. He still has that speed. He can still beat you deep. And because of that, a lot of corners can't jam him at the line because he's too fast, because he's too quick, because he'll beat you down the field with that speed. So you have to respect it. and that's going to open up everything else and everyone else on an offense. He has an impact across the offense, not just with what he does, but how he impacts the rest of a defense. So very good perimeter route runner. The one thing I would say about Brandin Cooks that I don't think is so good, that I always feel has been a weakness, he's not great after the catch. He struggles in that regard to make people miss and to make yak. But he's great at getting open and securing the football and making a big play down the field. That's why he's a top 32 receiver. At number 26, Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was absolutely the most shocking development at the wide receiver position in 2020 because he developed into a player that I never knew he could be. Every single year with the Jets, you felt like it was Robbie Anderson's breakout year. But it was not until he went to the Panthers and everyone kind of forgot about him until he actually broke out this year with his best season yet. And now he gets his old quarterback back from New York with Sam Darnold, that I think they have a bit of chemistry there. And I do feel that will develop his downfield game a little bit, a touch more than with Teddy Bridgewater. But Robbie Anderson developed into a player that can't just go deep, but can also go underneath, intermediate, and beat you all over. And also as a player that when he gets the ball in his hands, can actually make plays. Here's the thing. He was only ever used as a downfield player, as a clear route option. And now in Carolina, he was actually used as a get the ball in my hands on a quick little slant. And let's see what can go down, right? And that just made his game and his production so much more vast and incredible. So Robbie Anderson really earned my respect for not just being what was considered a soft downfield receiver who doesn't really take contact well, but also a guy that can work all areas of the field, the whole route tree. So he is definitely a top 32 wide receiver. At number 25, CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb has the potential as 88 in Dallas to be one of the next great receivers in the NFL. Last year, he had nearly 1,000 yards with much of the season without Dak Prescott. He is a perfect fit for Dallas's offense in the slot position. He is excellent after the catch. He has such smooth feet. He can make people miss like a running back. The way that he hesitates, the way that he in space is so calm, composed, and elegant in a way. CeeDee Lamb is a pretty crafty route runner as well from that slot position, whether it's on a little corner route into the red zone, making people shake at the line of scrimmage. He has really nice releases for a kid, basically, that's only played 1 year in the league. He has a developed game. CeeDee Lamb doesn't have like upper echelon speed, but he has enough speed to make you respect it. He has great feet and great lateral ability. And of course, that shows not only at the line of scrimmage, but with the ball in his hands as well. CeeDee Lamb, to me, will only move up on this list with Dak Prescott back at the helm. At number 24, maybe my favorite young receiver in the entire NFL, that is Brandon Ayuk. I feel like not enough people understand how good this guy is. Brandon Ayuk is kind of like Deebo Samuel. He's not quite as physical, but he is an incredible guy with the ball in his hands. He's already top 10 in that regard in the entire NFL, and that's why I feel Kyle Shanahan really wanted him in the first round and said he was his favorite receiver in the draft. Brandon Ayuk, once I saw him play, man, I can believe it because not only is he that type of way with the ball, but he's also a legitimate number one receiver on the perimeter, making plays in the air, making plays getting open through his routes. Overall, he's just a monster. I mean, this guy is athletically a freak, hurdling people, making people miss, got good speed, good height, the length, the wingspan, everything you want from a number one wide receiver in the modern NFL. He can do everything. Perimeter, inside, ball in the hands, route runner, he's so good. I think he's going to be phenomenal in this league, and I could really see him breaking out this year. Brandon Ayuk, man, one of my crushes at this position heading into 2021. At number 23, we have Cooper KUPP, who I feel might have his best year of his entire NFL career with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, who are already lighting it up together in minicamp. Cooper KUPP is probably one of the most underrated route runners underneath the defense in the league. Sean Murphy-Bunting actually said he was his toughest cover that he faced all year. That's pretty impressive. Cooper KUPP lit up the Bucs, of course, but he's just such a crafty and tough route runner underneath. Whether he goes inside or out, a lot of option routes that he runs. He can also impressively run deep crossers where you see him really explode across a defense. He's great in the red zone. I just feel like Cooper KUPP is really a complete short to intermediate player. He's not a great deep threat because he doesn't have like the great leaping ability or the speed, but there are not many players that are better between 5 and 15 to 20 yards than Cooper KUPP. He's only getting better. He's still young. And now with the quarterback who can make every throw all over the field, he's only going to get better. At number 22, Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett surprisingly moved from being a perimeter downfield target to being a guy that can move into the slot and be more of a short target in this offense for Seattle as DK Metcalf took over a lot of the downfield stuff for Russell Wilson in that area. Tyler Lockett became more of a closer to the line of scrimmage guy. That's why his yards per catch went down this year. He almost exclusively works out of the slot now. But it does suit him because not only does he have that vertical speed to stress a defense, but he also does have quickness and probably a little bit underrated route running because you don't think of him in that regard. But he just has a great rapport and chemistry with his quarterback and Russell Wilson. He's one of the best broken play receivers in the league. Like, if the play breaks down, him and Russ have such a rapport where he'll get open somehow, some way, in a same way as Doug Baldwin, and Russ can find him and they can make that key big play. He's good after the catch. He's a great punt returner as well. Dynamic force for the Seattle Seahawks. I have Tyler Lockett here at number 22. At number 21, Robert Woods. Bobby Woods, baby, the other Los Angeles Rams wide receiver. If you're talking about a wide receiver that is your favorite wide receiver's favorite wide receiver, that might be Robert Woods because he's such a complete player from that, again, short to intermediate range, just like Cooper KUPP. He's not a super deep threat, and that is certainly a weakness to his game. But when you're talking about the chippiness, the toughness, the route running, the hands, the awareness, the intelligence, Robert Woods possesses it all, even the blocking, as Troy Aikman would tell you. But Robert Woods is just a real all-around solid player. Like, there's no other way to say it. He's so reliable week in, week out. You could just look at the box score every week and you'll be like, yeah, Robert Woods got his 6 to 10 catches this game, and that was another game for Robert Woods. He checks in, he checks out, and has a great game every game, no matter who's covering him, no matter what defense he's playing. It doesn't really matter, right? He can line up on the perimeter, in the slot. He can take a jet sweep here and there. He's just a really, really talented guy that I don't think gets enough love because he's not exactly the sexiest player at this position in the league. At number 20, a man that missed a lot of the season last year, but I think certainly deserves the top 20. That is Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay, formerly of the Detroit Lions, who I had, I think, in the top 10 last year. I had to move him down because of the injuries, but I still think he's an absolutely dynamic perimeter threat who's phenomenal down the field in jump ball situations. He might be the best jump ball receiver in the league. He's at least in the top 3 to 5 in this category. That's why he worked so well with Matthew Stafford. He doesn't always create separation, get open consistently, but again, he's a guy that wingspan, red zone, and consistently, year after year after year, high yards per reception. High. Because all of his plays are 15 to 30 yards down the field. He is one of the best downfield, in the middle of the field or down the field wide receivers in the league. He's so good at creating that little bit of room for him to jump up and make that grab at the end of the route, right? That's Kenny Golladay to me. He's going to fit in New York with Daniel Jones, because my problem with the Giants was not Daniel Jones throwing the football. Daniel Jones would deliver the ball, but they didn't have anyone to make that play at the end of things. And I think that's what Kenny Golladay will bring this offense in New York. I think Golladay will now get a little bit more of a spotlight because he's in a bigger market. He's out of Detroit, and I think people will realize actually how good he is. But I do feel a little bad putting him here so low, but I think because of the injuries, it's justified just because there's so many other good receivers, including my number 19, who, man, guys, I feel bad about this one because I absolutely love this player. Like, I absolutely love Odell Beckham Jr. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL, but I simply cannot put him that much higher than this spot. If you want to put him a little bit higher, okay, I get that. I don't think you should put him much lower either because he's just too talented, but his injuries have absolutely derailed his career. He was on a Hall of Fame pace. Like, he was on a pace to be a top 5 receiver of all time. That's what type of pace he was on. That's derailed because I think of the trade, because of the unfortunate injuries. But we still see Odell has a ton of talent. I mean, he's still one of the most explosive playmakers with the ball in his hands in the league. Whether that's a slant or a reverse. We saw that last year with the Browns. We saw his ability to go down the field versus the Bengals with a big grab for a 50-plus yard play. So he still possesses all those things, and he looks pretty good coming back from the injury. I think he'll be good once again. I just question, coming back from all of these injuries, if he's going to be able to be that top 10 elite talent. Plus, the offense doesn't really allow him to put up the production he once did in New York. He still has some chemistry issues with Baker Mayfield that he needs to work out. So there's certainly questions with Odell, man, but I have to remind you that he's absolutely phenomenal talent. He possesses every tool in the toolbox for a wide receiver. I have talked about the players on this list not possessing one thing or the other. That is not a question with Odell. He has the speed, he has the quickness, he has the burst, he has the route running, he has the releases, he has the hands, he has the jump ball ability. He has it all. That's why he's an all-time talent. But because of his recent performance and productivity, you can only rank him so high. Bottom line viewers, I gotta remind you to head over to Underdog Fantasy. My favorite place to play fantasy football this offseason, and my favorite way to play fantasy football this offseason, that's best ball. Best ball is the best, man. You never have to set your lineup. You could draft a million times, never have to set your lineup, have some fun doing it. Underdog Fantasy, use the code BLV, get a free $25 right now, and enter yourself into the biggest best ball tournament of all time, Best Ball Mania. That is, for first-time depositors, $25 using the code BLV. The link is in the description. Download that app, use the code, and I'll see you there. At number 18, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is one of those players that I always say, man, this guy does not get the love he deserves, and then I rank him at number 18. That's just Adam Thielen for you, bro. But Adam Thielen is such an awesome player. I love watching him play because he just is so crafty, man. He's so crafty, whether that's as a red zone target, just the way that he can maneuver his body and make ridiculous grabs. Like, Adam Thielen makes some of the most impressive catches in the league. Like, period. He makes some crazy grabs where he can contort his entire body around, and that's why he's so good in the red zone. He has such great focus and hand-eye that he could just make every type of catch. He's also extremely tough over the middle of the field. Very good route runner. This is a guy that's had over 100 catches a couple times, I feel like. He's just so reliable, so consistent. He can be a downfield perimeter target. He can be a slot receiver. That's what I feel separates Adam Thielen from a lot of the simply slot guys, is that he can do both at a very high level, and he's great at both, right? And he's proven he can be the number 1 target or the number 2 target. And he's proven that he is not going to be a drama queen about it. So Adam Thielen is just a real good football player. I love watching him play, and I think he'll have another great year this year. At number 17, Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Him and Adam Thielen are actually very similar. They're very similar type of players. They both can play in the inside. They both can play on the outside. They're both tough as nails. They're both really good at maneuvering and contorting their body for weird type of catches. They both got really reliable hands, although I would say Chris Godwin had more drops than he typically does. The broken fingers did kind of hurt that situation. But where I think Chris Godwin separates himself from a guy like Adam Thielen is Chris Godwin is arguably, like, if you needed to throw a guy a screen and get 5 yards, Chris Godwin might be the best receiver in the league in that regard. He is so tough to tackle. Insanely difficult to tackle. He is so compact in his legs, and he's strong up top. He is really difficult to tackle in a Deebo Samuel type of way, but he's a more developed route runner and type of receiver. I think Chris Godwin was probably the most valuable receiver for the Bucs last year. But the thing is, I think the difference between him and Mike Evans is he doesn't quite take the coverage Mike Evans takes. You'll see Mike Evans, spoiler alert, on this list a little bit higher. But if Chris Godwin were to outproduce Mike Evans in any given season, it wouldn't surprise me because he's an absolutely phenomenal player that Tom Brady loves. And I'll tell you this, he'll take any hit and he'll still catch the football. At number 16, DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers. DJ Moore, to me, has proven over the last couple of years that he can be a absolute stud as a number one alpha target, but he can also contribute in a way that a lot of slot players contribute. And that's with the run game. That is with the reverses. That is with the after the catch. That is with the screen game. But he also has enough speed to burn you over the top. He's a good enough route runner where he can separate at the intermediate level. DJ Moore has a very well-rounded game. The only thing I can really say about DJ Moore that he doesn't necessarily possess is that, like, go up and get it mentality and attitude and ability. That's really the only thing. But he's good in other areas, so he makes up for it. DJ Moore is just a real good receiver in all facets, and I do think you need to watch him more because he deserves it, man. Entering the top 15, I have Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. Keenan Allen might be restricted as an athlete. He's not the best athlete at this position. He's not probably even top 32, if I'm being honest with you. Like, he's not very fast. He's not very big. He's like kind of like average in every category. I guess he's sort of tall. I think he's 6'2 or 6'3. But he is so good as a route runner. Like, incredible. He has great off-the-line releases. He kind of reminds me of, here's an obscure name for you, like Stevie Johnson at the line of scrimmage, where it's like a dynamic, different release package every time. Like, he's going to give you something different to think about if you're a corner every time, and he can get off the line in so many different fashions and forms to create separation, that initial jump for himself. That's why he's an 100-plus catch receiver, because he can consistently create separation at every level of the field for himself, right? It's not because of his speed, but it's because of that understanding, that intelligence, but also the feet. He's got very smooth, quick, swift feet where he can make those type of quick cuts from left to right, inside, outside, and very tough. He's had some injury issues in the past, but he's seemingly kind of gotten over those. And I'll just say this about Keenan Allen. Bro, keep rocking the hoodie under the jersey. Like, that is absolutely phenomenal, bro. Keep rocking the hoodie look. I need it in my life. Keenan Allen's at number 15. At number 14, Amari Cooper of the Dallas Cowboys. I think Amari Cooper gets a lot of love, but also a lot of hate. I almost feel like he gets too much hate sometimes from Cowboys fans and just the general NFL, because this guy's really talented. Like, extremely talented. Like, honestly, he has, like, top 5 talent because, like I said about OBJ, he doesn't really have any weaknesses. I don't think he's quite the leaper and the go up and get it type player that Odell has been in his career. But when you're talking about the explosiveness, the quickness, the routes, the releases, the just ability to sell himself, the understanding of the nuances of the position, and then you combine that in a guy that is just so explosive, right? That's the difference between him and Keenan Allen. Like, Keenan Allen can do all that, but Amari Cooper adds an element of speed to the mix that is just special. The thing I'll say about Amari Cooper is sometimes he's unreliable with his hands. He's had some drop issues in the past, and he does appear to have just moments where he's unavailable. Like, he doesn't show up. Like, he's kind of soft. So those are the things that held him back from being top 10 on my list, but all of his gifts definitely firmly put him in the top 15. At number 13, Mike Evans. I mentioned that he'd be on this list. At number 13, I'm so happy that Mike Evans was able to be on a good team last season, win a Super Bowl, and honestly, I don't think he cares what his stats looked like last year, although they were pretty good. I think he had 13 touchdowns last year, which people sleep on for some reason. Still had 1,000 yards for, guess what? A record-breaking performance last year. Congratulations to him. That is just absolutely Hall of Fame worthy in my eyes. I think one day Mike Evans will make it there. But I think what we saw from Mike Evans last year, which is why he's not in my top 10, he was number 6 last year, pretty high. And I think he could make it back there next year, to be honest with you. But I think what we saw last year was maybe a little bit of lack of chemistry with Brady, with all the targets around him. Brady really likes to spread the ball around, so he wasn't really forced the ball as much. He wasn't given as many opportunities to make those incredible leaping grabs down the field that he was with the Jameis Winston. And that held back from his stats being absolutely incredible, because Mike Evans isn't like one of the top route runners in the game to create separation. He does need guys to throw the ball up for allow him to make plays. And Brady didn't always do that for him. But what we also saw with Mike Evans was a pro and a con. He was hurt a lot last year. He was playing on one leg. He was playing banged up. And we saw a lack of explosiveness down the field that we typically see from Mike Evans. What has put Mike Evans high in my top 10 before is his combination of size, physicality, height, but also speed, like downfield vertical speed. And Mike Evans lost that because of his legs being a bit banged up and not having a consistent, hamstring here and there. But still incredible as a red zone target, still very good down the field. All of those things still exist and will exist next year. It's just because his productivity dipped, I had to dip him on the list. But he's still phenomenal, and his toughness really showed last year because he fought through a lot of injuries that guys wouldn't fight through in a lot of situations. So congratulations to him, and I think he'll be higher this time next year. At number 12, one spot above Mike Evans, another man in the NFC South that dealt with his fair share of injuries. I'm talking about Michael Thomas. Now, Michael Thomas was my number 2 wide receiver entering 2020, but he certainly disappointed last year, not only with the injuries, but also with the productivity when he played. There was certainly a dip there, whether it was with Taysom Hill, Drew Brees, or whoever the quarterback was. He wasn't really the same player to me. Maybe it was the injuries, maybe it was the in and out of the lineup, maybe it was the lack of consistency. But Michael Thomas, we saw a dip. And I really do question his transition from a Drew Brees, who's a precision underneath passer, to a guy that's not really known for that. A guy that is going to stress down the field. We're going to see how Michael Thomas can develop from slant boy into vertical boy. How he can do down the field. So, Michael Thomas, I love aspects to his game that I don't think he gets enough credit for, because at one time, and you could still say he still might be, the best underneath receiver in the league, from a route running standpoint to an understanding leverage standpoint to a release standpoint to a physicality, which I think is his key skill. He is very physical. He's strong as a wide receiver, great strong hands where you can just grab the ball out of the air and snatch it. Michael Thomas is very good. But I do think because he lacked that productivity this year, because he had those injuries, and because of my question marks entering next year, that's why I moved him outside of the top 10. At number 11, Scary Terry of the Washington football team. I'm talking about Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin was nearly in my top 10. I just at the last second moved him outside the top 10. What I love about McLaurin is his speed. He's got lots of it. But he's also combined that with nuanced route running in the intermediate level, on the perimeter of a defense, and he's been very productive without having any quarterback play that is above average. Like, absolutely none. He's had Alex Smith, he's had Dwayne Haskins, he's had Kyle Allen, he's had a lot of bad players. This year, he'll actually have a quarterback that will throw him the ball when he's not necessarily open, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He'll just increase his productivity overall, because Ryan Fitzpatrick is a smart quarterback, and he can get the ball to McLaurin very quickly. McLaurin's also very good after the catch because of his speed, and once he's in the open field, he's really tough to bring down. So McLaurin is my number 11 wide receiver. Entering the top 10, at number 10, I have Allen Robinson of the Chicago Bears. Allen Robinson, no, is not as fast as Terry McLaurin, but I do feel he's just about better in every other aspect. Allen Robinson has incredible hands, really awesome hands. Allen Robinson has very good route running in every asset and every facet. Allen Robinson, there were certain games and matchups and plays where I was like, there's no way this guy's going to catch this pass. Like, there's absolutely no way. The guy's draped all over him, and he's like, whoop, I got it. Whoop, I got it. Whoop, I got it. I'm Allen Robinson. There's no big deal. Like, he'll fall backwards like this and catch the ball over his head. It's insane what this guy can do, contorting his body. Again, to the route running, like, just go back and watch that Thursday night game versus Carlton Davis. Like, Carlton Davis is an extremely physical, at the line of scrimmage, press corner, and he's a good corner. And Robinson was, like, taking his freaking lunch money with these comeback routes and these out routes. I mean, it's just a show. That's what he does. I'll give Allen Robinson a ton of credit because he hasn't had good quarterback play in his entire career, and he's the only legitimate target on his offense. So for that, he's a top 10 receiver, man. At number 9, maybe the shocker of the top 10, you let me know, Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. I really like me some Calvin Ridley, man. I've questioned Calvin Ridley in the past because I wasn't sure if he was quite explosive enough or if he could develop into a perimeter player well enough because he was really a slot guy in college. But this is the smoothest route runner in the league. Calvin Ridley is, I don't really like to say this, but like, he's Jerry Rice-like with the routes. Like, if you've ever seen Jerry Rice run like an out or an in, I mean, I saw games where Calvin Ridley ran like 9 out routes in a row and caught every single one. Like, it's just like a 10-yard out, the DB knows it's coming, and he's just so smooth. Graceful is the word. Graceful is the word with Calvin Ridley. It's not really explosive. It's not really dynamic. It doesn't pop off the screen, but it's just like, man, it's graceful. It's fluid. It's impressive. He's got good hands, but it's really the route running to me that I don't care even if he's that fast. Like, he's always open. Like, it doesn't matter who he's playing. He's had games, last year he had more 100-yard games than anyone else, and that's because he's always open. So I have no problem with Julio being traded because Calvin Ridley could absolutely take his place. Absolutely. As a number 1 wide receiver. Atlanta, I don't know how you guys do it. As a Patriots fan, I'm absolutely pissed. But you guys always have great receivers, and you have another great one in Calvin Ridley. At number 8, I have the rookie sensation. His name is Justin Jefferson, JJ for short. I don't know if people actually call him that, but I'm going to call him that. Justin Jefferson, man. Justin Jefferson is probably the young, bright star of the wide receiver position in the NFL, and you might think this is premature. It is not. Justin Jefferson is already one of the 10 best receivers in the league. He has every single thing you look for in a elite receiver. He actually reminds me a lot of Odell Beckham. And it's not just that they went to LSU, but they're very similar in their releases. I don't think Jefferson's quite as fast, but he's just as quick. He is very nuanced as a route runner, and his body language, the way that he moves his body at the top of routes to kind of fake out and shake out a defender to get open is real impressive. I think just the ability that he can quickly turn right to left is one of the best in the game. And obviously we've seen that he is so dynamic in the open field, making people miss. And also just initially that what he does like Odell to me is like that snatch the ball with those strong hands, snatch that ball out of the air, but lose no speed. He can grab the ball and still accelerate through the ball, which is just absurd. So Justin Jefferson is not just a rookie sensation and not just a one-year wonder. He's going to be one of the best receivers for a long time. At number 7, A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. A.J. Brown, not only is he absolutely jacked, but he plays like it on the field. He's one of the toughest receivers in the league, just in terms of bringing punishment to a defense. He is going to stiff arm you to the ground. He brings that mentality of Derrick Henry to the receiver position for the Titans. He was a one-man show for the Titans in many games, and people couldn't stop him. Just look at that wild card game versus the Ravens. He's playing one of the best corners in the league, Marlon Humphrey, and he's just treating him like a little boy. Like he doesn't even deserve to be in his presence. So A.J. Brown was also playing hurt last year. He's one of the best after the catch. He can go down the field and snatch it. He's got everything to me. He's not the quickest in the world just because of the way he's built, but he's got the deep speed. He's got the size. He's got the physicality to make him a Terrell Owens type of player in this league. At number 6, Julio friggin' Jones. Julio Jones is one of the greatest receivers of all time. Now, I don't think he's quite that top 5 receiver he used to be, but darn is he close. I mean, he's still really damn good, and I think he's going to show it in Tennessee with a revenge tour this year. I think Julio Jones is going to have a spectacular year, along with the guy that was just ranked right below him. They have the best tandem in football. I don't think there's any way around it. Plus, Julio could kind of show A.J. Brown some thing or two. I'm just going to say that, but Julio Jones still has great speed, although he's not quite as fast as he used to be. I think that's where maybe he ticked off just a little bit. But the injuries do bug me, okay? So this is why he's not in the top 5, because the injuries, I think, are going to be a presence down the road in his entire career, the rest of his career, because he's a big guy. He's so fast. He's just a rare breed, like a Megatron type, right? Where they're just so big and so fast, it just doesn't make sense in the human mind. So you can't actually exist in the league that long, but Julio has done it, and I think he will do it. The question is, can he maintain that health? I just don't know. But, man, great hands. Obviously, we know he's extremely good as a route runner for his size. That's something that I think has made him all-time special, is that he can stop on a dime even though he is huge, and he's got a big frame. He's obviously, the way he contorts his body, I mean, just go back to Super Bowl 51 if you want evidence of that. He's got it all. He's one of the greatest of all time. I don't really need to tell you anything more. He's one of the best still, and I think he'll show it this year. At number 5, DK Metcalf. Now, it might be a little bit shocking that DK Metcalf is higher than Julio Jones, but honestly, I kind of think that DK Metcalf is like young Julio Jones. Like, I'm not even going to lie to you. DK Metcalf is an absolute freaking superhuman. Like, I don't even understand how this human being exists on Earth. He is an Olympic caliber sprinter who is the biggest man on his team. I mean, he is absolutely, positively jacked out of his freaking mind, and he's also the fastest guy on the field. If you need any evidence of that, he ran by Stephon Gilmore one-on-one on Sunday Night Football, snatched the ball when Gilmore had good position on his hands. He snatched the ball, threw him to the side, and ran for a touchdown. That's all I gotta say. Like, DK Metcalf, I don't care if he doesn't really run the best routes, because it doesn't matter. He's such a freaking beast that he can run a slant and out and in, you know, the simplest of the simplest, and he's going to get open. And even if he's not open, he's going to body you because he's just way bigger and physical. I mean, he's so physical, they should have, like, I don't even know how you cover him because you don't have that many corners that are that big. So DK Metcalf, I think if he's not top 5, he might be top 3, to be honest. Like, I think if anybody ranks him lower than like number 6, they're out of their mind because this guy is a stud. At number 4, DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the probably the most consistent receiver in the league in terms of stats. Like, year in and year out, catches over 100, yards over 1,300, touchdowns over 10. Across the board, every category, boom, 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 D-Hop. D-Hop, I think, doesn't get the recognition he deserves for his route running. He's very crafty, very good. I think he's one of the best in the game, especially, you know, that shakiness in his routes. That he is probably like the most nuanced receiver in the league. Like, I think that's why he's special. Like, if you considered him to be the best in the league, I'd understand what you were saying. Okay, I don't think he is, but I understand what you were saying because he's arguably the best jump ball receiver. I actually think he is the best jump ball receiver, but he's also a very good route runner, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. He's pretty good after the catch because he's physical. He's not going to outrun you, but he'll break tackles, and the guy is open constantly. Like, constantly. Every time Kyler Murray, like, there were plays in games and sequences in games where Kyler legitimately wouldn't look at anyone else on the field. Like, he would just stare to the left side of the field, wait for Hopkins to be open, and he was open. Like, that's him. He can play in the slot. He can play in the perimeter. He can beat you deep. He can beat you underneath. Top 5 receiver. At number 3, Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs makes a huge jump from number 12 to number 3 this year. Stefon Diggs, he just showed what he thought he could do the whole time. And man, I applaud that, bro. Congratulations, Stefon Diggs, because you just showed the world and the Vikings what you could do if you get the ball more. Stefon Diggs, what really I thought was amazing about his game this year is I thought his explosive ability went through the roof this year. We understood he was great down the field, but man, the number of plays where he just separated from DBs once catching the football was incredible. Man, he made some of the best corners in the league look foolish in certain games. And I don't think he's like the best underneath player because I don't think he's necessarily like the middle of the field intermediate. I'm going to take a hit across the middle. That's not really Stefon Diggs. He's more of the perimeter guy. He's going to work the outside more than anything. But man, once he does catch that slant, look out because he has that next gear to beat you. He has that gear to beat you down the field. And he has great chemistry with Josh Allen in such a short period of time that I really feel like he's going to only get better with this tandem. At number 2, I have Davante Adams of the Green Bay Packers. Davante Adams might be the most complete receiver in the league. I know I said that about D-Hop. I think it might be one or the other, and I can see where you're coming from on that. Where I do think D-Hop and Davante separate themselves, I do think that Adams is the best when it comes to getting off the line of scrimmage. Like, his release off the line is the best in the game. I don't even know if it's his routes down the field that really separate. Like, I think you could look at a number of other guys that are just as good or at least close. But Adams releases to get that initial step or to shake that defender at the line is out of this world special and why he is so good and tough to contain. That's why he needs a double, because he's going to beat that first guy. He's going to get the step on the first guy, no matter really who it is, unless you have a tactical corner that's just as good in that regard. Like, you need a Darrelle Revis type of corner, right, to stick with Davante Adams, because you need that tactician on the other side of things to be able to match his wits. And Adams is so tactical. That is where he's so special. He has good speed. I've never been impressed with his speed, which is why he's not number 1. He's not necessarily like, oh my goodness, I have to have a deep safety over top on every play because he's just going to burn by me. Not necessarily. I like to double him, but not necessarily in that regard. I don't necessarily have to have back off coverage. Oh, this guy's so dynamic down the field. He's not amazing after the catch. He's pretty good, but not like anything crazy special. I wouldn't necessarily put him in the top 10 in that regard, but he's so good with his hands, so reliable with his hands, snatching the ball out of the air, very good contested wise, very good back shoulder catcher. Aaron Rodgers and him are the best tandem maybe in the league just from their chemistry alone, but he's real good, and you could argue he is the best. But my number 1 receiver, and personally, guys, I honestly don't think it is that close. I think it's Tyreek Hill, and I don't think it's that close. Tyreek Hill is the freaking best receiver. I don't care what you tell me. I don't care what you comment. Tyreek Hill's the best. I made a video about Tyreek Hill being MVP. I believe it. Tyreek Hill is the biggest game changer in the sport. He is. Tyreek Hill, there is no other player in this league that can beat you like that. You snap your fingers, the game is different. One little snap. One little snap is different. That's Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is so good that if he just played in the slot, he would be the best slot receiver in the league because he's so laterally quick. I have never seen a player this fast, but also this quick. I have never seen that. I've never seen an athlete, soccer, basketball, hockey, lacrosse. I don't care what sport. I've never seen a player this quick and fast at the same time. I've never seen a receiver that literally puts fear into defenders when he catches the ball like Tyreek Hill. Like, I see people backing up, like running away. Like, Tyreek Hill will catch the ball on the sidelines, and there's 3 guys around him. And he'll, like, run around and, like, zig around, and, like, somehow he'll get 10 yards. I was like, oh, my God. How did that 2-yard pass turn into a 10-yard gain? That's Tyreek Hill. And then, when he gets a 20-yard in route, oh, see you later. Bye. See ya. He runs routes that nobody else runs in the league. Like, Jet Wasp in the Super Bowl was a route that was only designed for Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill can only run that route. Simple. Tyreek Hill's the best receiver in the league because he's the biggest game changer there is in the league. That's why he's the best. I hope you enjoyed this list. If you did, Gronk, spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more rankings just like this. Do you agree with my number 1? Do you agree with my top 32? Let me know in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for supporting me. Check out the future rankings. Next will be the tight ends and all the other rankings in the playlists. Thanks for watching. Peace.